Welcome to the module on programming for muscle gain. The three main reasons for gaining or maintaining muscle are looks or vanity, sports performance, and last but not least, general health, especially with advancing age. So let's have a look at the lessons within this module. First lesson is going to be goal setting and getting acquainted with realistic progress projections and timeframes. This is really important. Lesson 2 is targeting the energy surplus. Lesson 3 is a phenomenon called recomposition. And Lesson 4 is individualizing the macronutrient targets for muscle gain. And Lesson 5 is a concept called the anabolic window. It's also been called the post-exercise anabolic window of opportunity. And the final lesson is going over optimal protein distribution and the peri-exercise time frame. So with that, let's talk about realistic goal setting. So it's important to know what the ultimate muscular potential is for men and women, and this is specifically in reference to non-enhanced men and women. So natty men and women, people who are not on anabolic or androgenic steroids. So the ultimate natural potential for muscle hypertrophy in natural men, we can figure that out by comparing the so-called fat-free mass index of the average male adult with the fat-free mass index of elite natural male bodybuilders. Now, to take a couple steps back, you may be familiar with the term body mass index. So body mass index is a ratio that involves dividing somebody's weight in kilograms by their height in meters squared. So fat-free mass index is also a weight to height ratio, but it involves dividing somebody's kilograms of fat-free mass by their height in meters squared. And just like there are BMI calculators available online, there are also fat-free mass index calculators available ubiquitously online. So the average fat-free mass index of an untrained male adult is 19. Okay, so when we compare that with the fat-free mass index of elite natural male bodybuilders, their fat-free mass indexes range from 22.7 to 25.0. So it's the spread between these two values that we can logically say is what men have available to them as a natural or drug-free potential for gaining muscle. So this amounts to roughly 27.5 to 44.5 pounds over the course of an entire training career. So somebody who reaches adulthood and has not resistance trained, they have in front of them the potential as an adult, the potential to gain about 27.5 to 44.5 pounds of muscle. So if we can imagine a 5-year period that's dedicated to this goal, where all the person does is eat, sleep, and train, and block out all other distractions, then in a perfect world, this person would gain an average of 5.5 to 8.9 pounds of muscle per year and then reach their natural muscular potential in 5 years. I want to emphasize that this is a best case scenario because, number one, only a small minority of the general population can dedicate their entire lives to the primary goal of gaining as much muscle as possible. And secondly, the majority just experience the various distractions of life and how life pulls us this way and that and takes us away from the goal of gaining a maximal amount of muscle. And so therefore, most people are not going to reach their natural muscular potential in 5 years. It typically takes a little bit more like 10 years because some years you'll experience complete plateaus, just stagnation. And some years you'll experience setbacks from either injuries or illness, or just life in general happening to you. So that is the story with realistic goal setting for ultimate muscular potential in drug-free men. So let's have another look at how this goes in a 5-year period. So initially, lean mass gain happens more rapidly, and then it starts dropping off as the years go by. So in a best case scenario, you can see over there in the table on the left. So we're looking at a 40 pound example in a 5-year period with an average gain per year at 8 pounds. And you can see how that starts off at a relatively high rate, relatively rapidly, and then just starts dropping off. But like I said, life happens. And so the 5-year intention typically gets drawn out to about 10 years. So this nice, elegant, rapid onset of muscle gain that slowly drifts down, it doesn't really look like that in the 10-year outlook. You'll see various points in a 10-year period where you gain no muscle at all. And it just is a lot less neat and clean and a lot more chaotic. And in any case, it ends up looking like in a 5-year period, you'd gain 25 pounds of muscle with an average per year gain of 5 pounds. And in 10 years, when you finally do reach your muscular potential, you'll hit that 40-pound muscle gain. But the average gain per year is 4 pounds of muscle. So when you take a look at these scenarios, the best case scenario and the more common case scenario, what probably will jump out at you is just how little the amount of muscle gain is on an annual basis. So let's take a look at drug-free women. So ultimate natural potential in drug-free women. So the average fat-free mass index of an untrained woman is 15.6. So the fat-free mass index of elite female natural bodybuilders who represent the upper end of muscle mass is somewhere between 18 to 19.5. So what this calculates out to is a muscular potential of 16.1 to 25.1 pounds that an untrained woman can gain in a lifetime in under ideal circumstances. So the annual gain in a 5-year period and an idyllic 5-year period is about 3.2 to 5 pounds a year. So if you'll notice, the muscular gain potential of women is about 30 to 50% less than it is for men. So proportionally, it's very similar to men, but in absolute terms, women can gain about 30 to 50% less muscle than men as their ultimate muscular potential. And I want to make the same point I did with men. A 5-year period of attaining your ultimate muscular potential is kind of a pie in the sky because it usually takes around 10 years, and you're lucky to hit that potential before the 10-year mark. And the reason? Life happens. That's the reason. People get new jobs, people go to school, people lose their jobs, people get divorced. Women can occasionally have babies, and this can interrupt the best intentions to fulfill dreams, lifelong dreams of attaining maximal muscular potential. So let's look at a best case scenario for women. And this is a 5-year period of gaining 25 pounds of muscle. And you can see that starts off pretty substantial and then starts dropping off year by year. And that's a 5-year scenario. Here's the more common and more realistic 10-year scenario, complete with just pockets of zero gains. And total in 5 years would be 16 pounds, average per year 3.2 pounds. And once again, reaching closer to ultimate potential in 10 years, it's looking like, well, 25 pounds, but the average per year, once again, pretty minuscule, 2.5 pounds a year. And so, once again, I want to make the same point. Total muscular potential is one thing, but you have to realize that the time frame to achieve this is a pie in the sky 5 years, but a more realistic 10 years, just because of the way life goes. And when you look at the net or absolute amounts that you gain on average per year, it's pretty small. So gaining muscle is a very hard fought battle. It's not like fat loss, where there are opportunities to rapidly lose substantial amounts of fat, depending on what your starting point is. With muscle, it's always going to be this colossally slow and arduous grind. So, this is an example of somebody who gained a substantial amount of muscle. This is my friend Kate Cavers, and on the right, she's 133 pounds. She's 9 pounds up. I'm sorry, on the left, she is 133 pounds, and on the right, she is 9 pounds heavier. And you can tell that there was some recomposition that happened. She has less body fat, but more muscle. She's a net 9 pounds heavier on the right side. This was roughly a 6-year period where she went from completely untrained to highly trained. And with that, we will end the first lesson, and I will see you back for lesson 2, where we talk about properly targeting the energy surplus for muscle gain.